Today we'll be starting the discussion with logical architecture. We'll try to keep it light today as well. From next week, we'll be going in full swing. Right? So I have shared my screen. Guys, kind request, by the time you do not have a question, please stay on mute. So as long as you do not have any questions, please stay on mute. Mandiran, do you have any question? Mandiran, do you have any question as of now? Yeah, Mandiran, please stay on mute if in case you do not have any question. Thank you. Okay, let me share my screen. So yesterday we spoke regarding the physical architecture. Now today we'll start. Now let me quickly give you a quick recap what we discussed yesterday. So first we talk about there is always an architecture. We also talk about what is on-premise, what is public cloud. Azure is Microsoft public cloud. Then we were talking regarding the Azure architecture. In this we have two architecture, that is physical architecture, and we have a logical architecture. Right now, then we spoke regarding the physical architecture. In physical architecture, we discussed at the very top we have got regions. Regions are nothing but the data centers Microsoft has deployed across the globe. Regions are nothing but group of data centers, we can say, to be precise, group of data centers that Microsoft has deployed across the globe. So at the very top, we have got regions. We discussed yesterday, we have got 60 plus regions, which is providing services across more than 140 countries. So 60 plus region providing services across 140 countries. Names of some regions are East US, West US, South India, UK South, etc., etc., etc. A very long list, right? Then after regions, we discussed, we have got something called as availability zones. We will discuss this availability zones today, right? We have something called as availability zones. We discussed 3 points regarding availability zone. Point number 1 was out of 60 plus regions, only 16 to 18 regions contains availability zone. Yesterday, I shared one link as well, with the help of which we can easily find that out, that which region contain availability zone. Point number 2, any region that contain availability zone will have 3 zones inside this: zone 1, zone 2, and zone 3. And point number 3, what can we achieve with the help of availability zone? So with the help of availability zone, we can achieve better redundancy. Better redundancy can be achieved with the help of availability zones, right? Then we discussed that after availability zones, we have got something called as data centers. In one region, minimum we will have one data center, and maximum we can have multiple data centers. So minimum one, and maximum there could be multiple. And after data center, we have got after data center, we have got racks, where actually the resources will be hosted. We have got racks where actually the resources will be hosted. So whenever I use this word rack, whenever I use this word resources, I am trying to say resources means virtual machines that we create, virtual networks. It could be your firewall, it could be your database, all etc., etc., etc. There is a very long list. So these are all considered as the resources. These are all considered as the resources. So that is how the physical architecture of the Azure looks like, right? Now we will talk about logical architecture. Now, before we talk about logical architecture,
one question, like, sorry to interrupt.
No, please go ahead.
Just to understand the availability zone and data center. So you mean like availability zone is something like we'll be having redundant data centers, right?
Okay. Were you available? Were you present in yesterday's session?
So actually, yesterday's session I was lately joined. Around last 50 minutes only I could join.
Right. So I think that is the reason you missed it, probably. So yesterday we clearly discussed that in one availability zone, so any region that contain availability zone. Now let's say East US is one of the region that contain availability zone. Any region that contain availability zone will have three availability zones: zone 1, zone 2, and zone 3. Usually these zones are physically separated to a distance of around 10 to 15 miles. They are placed at a physical distance of around 10 to 15 miles. In one zone, minimum there will be one data center, and maximum there can be multiple data centers. In one availability zone, minimum there will be one data center, and maximum there can be multiple data centers. So it's not always that in every zone we will have multiple data centers. No, but still we can achieve the redundancy. How can we achieve that? Probably by end of today's session, you will have a fair clarity on the same, that how can we achieve better redundancy with the help of availability zone. Does that answer your query?
Yeah. So one more doubt. Like, can zone 1 talk with zone 2?
Okay. Yeah, zone 1 and zone 2, they are connected to each other. Zone 1 is connected to zone 2, zone 2 is connected to zone 3, and zone 3 is connected to zone 1. So zones are nothing but physical location. Inside the zones, you will have data centers. Inside the data centers, you will have some resources. Let's say in zone number 1, you have put your application server. Let's say in zone number 1, you have put your application server. In zone number 2, you will have your database server. So application server, which is placed in zone number 1, can communicate to the database server, which is placed in zone number 2. Right? So in this manner, if you are saying, can zone 1 communicate to zone 2? Answer is yes.
Okay.
Answer is yes. Right?
Okay. Thanks.
Wonderful. Now, before we talk about logical architecture, if we want to start the journey with Azure, how we will start the journey with Azure? Now, let's say if I want to send an email to my friend, I want to send an email to one of my friend. So what do I need if I want to send an email? I need an email address. So if I want to use the Gmail services, I need to create a Gmail account. Maybe I can go to www.gmail.com and I can create the account. Similarly, if I want to kickstart my journey with Azure, I need an Azure account. So maybe you can go to portal.azure.com. That is the Azure portal. From here, we can access the Azure services. So you can go to portal.azure.com and you can create an Azure account. Now, Azure account, it could be a personal account, it could be a corporate account. So let's say if my name is Jitin and this could be my Azure account, that is my personal account, right? Or this could be my personal Azure account, maybe like this, v-10jis@outlook.com. This could be my Azure account. Or let's say if I am working for Facebook, then jitin@facebook.com could be my Azure account. So either it could be my personal account or it could be my corporate account. Could be anything. Now, just because you have created the Azure account does not mean that you would be able to create the resources. Just because you have got the Azure account doesn't mean that you would be able to create the resources. So when we say resources means virtual machine, virtual network, firewall, database, etc. These are considered as the resources. Let me give you an example. Let's say you have purchased a mobile phone. Now, just because you have purchased a mobile phone, do you feel you would be able to make phone calls? Answer is no. In order to make phone calls, what do we need? We need a SIM card. In order to make phone calls, what do we need? We need a SIM card. Using the SIM cards, we would be able to make phone calls, right? Similarly, just because we have created the Azure account doesn't mean that we would be able to create the resources. In order to create the resources, we need something called as subscription. We need something called as subscription. Subscription is also considered as a billing boundary. Subscription is also considered as a billing boundary. Why do we call it as billing boundary? Whatever resources we will be deploying inside the subscription, whatever virtual machines, whatever databases, whatever firewall we will be deploying inside the subscription, the billing of those resources would be going to that respective subscription. The billing of those resources would be going to that respective subscription. So it is also considered as a billing boundary. Sometimes people ask, can we have multiple subscription inside one Azure account? inside one Azure account, can we have multiple subscription? Answer is yes. Inside one Azure account, you may have multiple subscriptions. Maybe one subscription for the HR department, one subscription for the marketing department, one subscription for the operations department, or one subscription for client number one. So there can be different kind of structures, and we may have multiple subscriptions inside the Azure account.
I have one question here.
Yeah,
So
please.
why and department-wise subscription is we are assigning department-wise subscription like HR and admin kind of. Why
Now,
we are
yeah,
not using like development, production, and this kind of architecture for subscription?
okay, development. See, it could be anything. It could be anything. It could be anything that your organization would like to follow. So it could be department wise, it could be development production wise, it could be client wise, it could be any logical, it could be any logical nomenclature that you would like to follow. There is no fixed rule.
One more question. Suppose we have allocated the department wise subscription, HR department we have. So the resources which you utilize in the HR department will be taken care by HR department, billing care by taken care by HR department, or how it is means.
Absolutely.
Why? Yeah. Suppose HR department using four servers, one database, and the subscription allocated to the HR department. So whatever generated from Azure portal for that subscription, that is considered the HR department billing, right?
True. Absolutely correct. Absolutely correct.
Got my.
I hope you got a fair clarity, sir. Fair answer to your question.
Yes, I got the clarity.
Wonderful. So guys, anyone else, any questions so far? Anything? Okay. Now, after subscription, we have something called as resource group. So subscription is mandatory. By the time you do not have a subscription, you cannot create any resource. But before you create a resource, you need to create something called as resource group. A resource group is like a logical container which contains the metadata of the resources. A resource group is like a logical container which contains the metadata of the resources, right? In order to create a resource group, first of all, subscription has to be there. By the time you do not have an active subscription, you cannot create a resource group. So you need to have a subscription, and that too active subscription, right? Then whenever you will be creating a resource group, you have to give it a name. What name you want to give it? Maybe you can give it a name RG1, resource group 1. You can give it a name RG for HR. Maybe you can give it a name RG HR. Maybe for the HR department, you can give it a name RG production. You can give it a name RG client 1. Whatever nomenclature, whatever naming convention you would like to use as per your organization guidelines, you can follow that, right? Let's say I just give it a name RG1. Then you need to define a region. In which region you will be creating this. Few minutes back in physical.
So one doubt.
Just give me 2 minutes.
So,
I'll take your question. Just give me 2 minutes. So few minutes back in physical architecture, we discussed we have got 60 plus regions, right? So far what we discussed, we need to have an active subscription. We need to give it a name. So I have given it a name RG1. And few minutes back in physical architecture, we discussed that we have got 60 plus regions. So physical architecture and logical architecture, they go hand in hand. Physical architecture and logical architecture, they go hand in hand. Now, while we will be creating a resource group, we need to define the region. In which region we would like to create this resource group. So you may create this in East US, you may create this in South India, you may create this in UK South, whatever region you want. Obviously anyone. It's not like same resource group I can keep in 2 regions at the same time. No, obviously it will be in 1 region. So let's say I'm putting this in East US. Then a resource group will be created. Yeah, I'm so sorry to interrupt you, sir. Please go ahead with your question. I think one gentleman has a question. Please go ahead, sir.
Hi. As you said, for the resource group, we can name according to the client. So do we have a scenario like we will be doing for a different client
In organization, In organization, any structure could be possible. See, if your organization is
Because if that is the case, means it will be like there's data leakage, right? So one of
why
the
would it
resource
be
will be,
why would it be data leakage?
so let's say an example, like, so if I'm having a VM, so some database VM,
Mhm,
VM1 for a different on client 1 and VM2 for a client 2.
mhm.
So if I am using this single subscription for both means, so it will be like that resource group. So there is a possibility of data leakage, right?
No, there is no possibility of data leakage by the time you would not be considering the good security factors. Let me ask you a question on this. Let's say you have your data center. Let's say, let's leave Azure cloud for a moment. Let's say you are running your own data center. In the same data center, let's say right now you are supporting two organizations. You have two clients,
Yeah.
client A
Okay.
and client B.
Yeah.
And to both the client, you need to provide the IT services. So client A asks you to create a database for them. You created a database in
Okay.
your data center. Client B also
Okay.
asks you to create a data center. You created the
Yeah.
database for the client B as well in the same data center. Would there be
But
data
we will
leakage?
isolate that, right?
Yeah,
So it will be like a different VLAN or different route is for different clients, right? So
absolutely.
we are
So
isolating that.
I think you answered your question. So here as well, if you will be using two databases for two different clients, what will you do? You will isolate them.
Okay. Okay.
What we will do? We will simply isolate them. If they are isolated, there will be no data leakage, right? I
Okay.
hope you got the clarity, sir.
Yeah. 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 I understand. Thanks.
Wonderful. So guys, any other question on subscription or on resource group? Okay. So then the resource group will be created. So once we have a subscription, once we have a resource group, now we will be going further and now we can create the resource. Now we can create the resource. So when you will be creating a resource, you need to have a subscription. You need to have a resource group. We have got RG1 and this is in East US region, right? So we have now, let's say if you are creating a virtual machine, if you are creating a virtual machine, you have to give it a name. Maybe you can give it a name VM number 1. And after this, you have to define the region. Now, I am deploying this VM number 1 inside, I am deploying this VM number 1 inside RG number 1. RG number 1 is in East US. RG number 1 is in East US. If you want, you may deploy this machine in East US. If you want, you may deploy this machine in South India as well. That is also possible, right? Although the recommendation is the region of the resource group and the region of the resource should be same. But if in case you want a region of resource group and region of resource to be in a different region, that is also possible. That is also possible, right?
Can you repeat the last sentence?
Right. Yeah, I'm focusing more on it. So what is a resource group? Resource group is nothing but a logical container. Resource group is nothing but a logical container which contains the metadata of the resources. In one resource group, we can have multiple resources. In one resource group, we can have multiple resources. Resources can be of same type. Resources can be of different type. Resources may be in the same region. Resources may be in a different region. RG1 is one resource group, which is in East US region. Inside RG1, we can have multiple resources. VM1, VM2, VNet1, DB1. Resources can be of same type. VM1 and VM2, they are of same type. Both of them are virtual machine. Both of them are virtual machine. They are of same category. VNet number 1, it's a different kind of a resource. It's a virtual network. DB1, it's a database. So resources can be of same type. Resources can be of different types. Resources can be in the same region. Maybe VM number 1 is in East US, same region as a region of a resource group. Maybe VM number 2 is in a West US. Altogether a different region. VNet number 1, it could be in UK South. DB1, it could be in South India, right? So resources can be of same type, resources can be of different types. Resources can be in the same region, resources may be in a different region. So does that answer your query?
Yes. So if resource VM1 in East US, so if I want to migrate that or move that VM from East US to West US, so it is possible. It is using the same resource group, right?
Yeah,
so
it is
we
possible.
Yeah. Can we move to the different resource group?
Yes, that is also possible.
Yeah. Okay. So if RG1 is in East US, if RG2 is within West US or the Central India, then we can move one resource from one resource group to another resource group, right?
Possible. We can do that. So one gentleman has a question: what is the use of creating in different resource groups, right? In different regions or in different resource group? What's the use of creating in different regions? Pawan, if you can please say, is it different resource group you are saying? Is it different region you are trying to say?
Yes, like you said, you have created a region 1 in East US and VM2 is in West US. So what's the use of this creating in different regions or different?
Right. So use could be, now let's say you are supporting client number A. Client number
Okay,
A want an application server.
Yes, I got the answer due to the client requirement.
Right, due to the client requirement. Maybe the VM number 1 is acting like an app server, and client users who will be connecting to this application server, they are nearby East US region. Maybe same client want a database, and users who will be accessing this database, they are maybe in India region somewhere. Or maybe client number 2 is asking you to create a database. Maybe the client number 2 is operating in India. So we'll be creating a database in India region. We may put them in one resource group, or we may put them in different resource group. Any kind of a structure we can follow.
So you're saying that there is no dependency for the region for the resource group, right? So we don't need to think about which region that resource group lies, right?
Absolutely.
Because we can add any region, any resource to any region and link to that resource group. So it's only like for a billing purpose or something like that, right?
Right. For the naming convention and for the who holds the metadata, majorly for those purpose. Apart from few services has some restrictions. For example, when we are doing backup and when we are creating a site recovery, then we have to be careful regarding this. But mostly what you are saying is absolutely correct. In 90% of the cases, what you are saying is absolutely correct. There are some special cases or there are some special scenarios. For example, if you are creating a site recovery or if you are taking a backup, then we have to be a bit careful regarding the region of the resource group as well. Otherwise, not required.
Okay. So one more doubt, like, you said like RG1 in East US and VM1 in East US and VM2 in West US. So while creating the VM1, that storage I can link to any other location as well, right?
Now, what kind of a storage are you referring to? Storage are of multiple types.
Okay, so I'm just trying to understand like if there is any dependency on the region for for any of the resource which is linking to the VM1 or VM2.
Anup, actually the question that you have asked is it's a vague question. Why I am calling it vague? Reason being storages can be of multiple types. There are multiple types of storages. If it's a direct attached storage, if it's a kind of a disk, maybe C drive, D drive, where we create these drives or these volumes. If it's a direct attached storage, then direct attached storage has to be in the same region. If VM number 1 is in East US, the disk has to be in East US. The disk which is lying in East US, you cannot associate to VM2 because VM2 is lying in West US. But if it is the network attached storage, you may do that. You may do that. So it depends upon if it's a database, you may do that. Maybe with the help of connection string, you may do that, right? So it depends upon what kind of a storage are we referring here. And within storage as well, there are multiple classes of storage. What have you put inside the storage? So there can be a lot of scenarios. So if it's a direct storage, then region has to be same. Otherwise, it could be different as well.
Okay. So normally on the site recovery aspect, we need to think about the resource group region, right?
Right. There are certain conditions we have to meet. There are certain conditions we have to meet. Then only we would be able to create a site recovery. So that is the reason that region comes into the picture. Even region of the resource group as well comes into the picture. Certain prerequisites, you can say, we have to meet. Then only we would be able to create the site recovery. So that is the reason we need to think about the region of the resource group as well before we do that. Right?
Right. Thanks.
Jitin, I have one doubt here.
Mhm.
So if you are telling ki if we create one VM in East US and one other is the West US, suppose I have created one VNet in the East US location,
Mhm.
and now I am creating the VM in that same VNet. So in the same VNet, I create one VM in the East US. So can we create the second VM in the
No.
West US? No, right? No? Okay.
See,
Because
what you are saying is absolutely correct. If I have the VM number 1 in East US, so obviously for this I have created a network as well. Maybe VNet number 1 that is also in East US.
right.
Now question is, can I create VM number 2 in West US, and would it be able to get the IP from VNet number 1? This VNet number 1 is in East US. Not possible. Not possible. The region of the virtual machine and the region of the virtual network has to be same. So maybe what I have to do, if I want to create VM number 2, I have to create VNet number 2, and that has to be in West US. Then only I would be able to do this. So same network would not be able to allocate an IP to a machine which is lying in a different region. Not possible. I hope that answers your query, sir.
Yeah. Yes.
Any other question, guys? All right. Now, above this subscription, we have one more hierarchy. That is what we call as management group. Above the subscription, we have one more hierarchy. We refer this as management group. What can we achieve with the help of management group? We can achieve two things. Obviously, in the organization, if you will be creating infrastructure, you want to achieve some compliance as well. There will be some compliance of your organization as well. So if you want to achieve the compliance, how can you do that? Obviously, you need to have some policies. In on-premise, we use group policies. In Azure, we do not have a concept of group policy. We have something called as Azure policies. In Azure, we do not have a concept of group policy. We have something called as, sorry, in Azure, we do not have a concept of group policy. We have something called as Azure policies. So what can we do with the help of management group? We can apply the policies at scale. We can apply policies at scale. At a bigger level, we would be able to apply policies. And second is we can manage multiple subscription. And second is we can manage multiple subscription. So we can apply policies at scale and we can manage multiple subscription. Guys, just remember this point for now. This point will be clarified probably next week, but try to remember this point for now. Whenever you create a tenant or whenever you create a directory. Now, what is tenant, what is directory? We have not discussed that. So if you can just remember this point for now, that would be good. So whenever we create a tenant or whenever we create a directory or whenever we get a tenant or whenever we get a directory, we get something called as tenant root management group. We get something called as tenant root management group. What do we get? Something called as tenant root management group. So whenever we create a tenant or whenever we create a directory or whenever we get a tenant or whenever we get a directory, we get something called as tenant root management group. Right? Just remember this point now. Any question from the logical architecture before we jump forward?
If we are
On
sorry, if we are assigning this department by subscription group, so how the consolidated billings will be happen? Suppose I am the architecture and I want to generate a consolidated billing for this all these accounts. So
you can club the billing. So you can do the addition of billing of subscription number 1, subscription number 2, subscription number 3, and you can find out the consolidated billing.
okay, so there is not any kind of report from the consolidated billing, right?
We can generate the report. See, now for that what we have to do is you will be assigning some sort of a service administrator for subscription number 1. There will be some sort of an administrator for subscription number 1. That service administrator for subscription number 1 can find out the billing of subscription number 1. There will be service administrator for subscription number 2 who can find out the billing of subscription number 2. Maybe you can assign one person who can find out the billing of subscription number 1, who can find out the billing of subscription number 2. So that person who can find out the billing of subscription 1 and subscription 2 can add the billing and can give you a consolidated report that what is the billing of all these things. Right? Jayendra, yeah, your video is turned on. So if you have done that explicitly, probably you can turn it off. So maybe video calling is not required here. Jayendra, your video is turned on. Yeah.
Hello, Jitan. This is Raghav. I have one question with respect to subscription management. See, if some organizations they don't want to give the subscription for the project and they want to manage everything to under the subscription through resource group, they want to get the billing. Okay. In this case, how we can manage the resource group level subscription? There is an option available in our Azure portal where we can get the billing by the resource group. Okay. But I want to know that each and every resource group, I need to get proper billing mechanism and policy needs to be enabled at resource group, not at subscription level group under one subscription. Is that feasible or not?
Possible. With the help of cost management, you can do that. But I think you guys are asking questions from that area that we have not discussed so far. So there is something called as cost management we can make use of, right? Or there is cost management and billing we can make use of, and we can find it out from here. So with the help of tags as well, we can find that out. With the help of resource group as well, we can find that out. So let me give you a very basic idea. Let me give you, right? Although we have not discussed what you are asking. Let's say inside subscription number 1, you find out the report or you pulled out the report of subscription number 1, maybe into CSV format, into Excel sheet, right? Into CSV format or into Excel file, you have pulled out the report for subscription number 1. Now you can easily segregate. You can apply some filters. So those who are working on Excel, they already know how to put filters, right? So you can put some filters on this Excel report. Maybe now you want to find out billing only for the virtual machines, or maybe you only want to find out the billing only for RG number 1, or maybe you only want to find out the billing only for the virtual machines. So you can put different type of filters, and you can only find out the billing of specific resource group, specific type of a service, or for a specific project, or for a specific client. Maybe inside subscription number 1, you have deployed resources for multiple clients. So you may find out billing for multiple clients as well. So what you need to do is you just need to apply the right filters. You just need to apply the right filters, and that's how you can find out the billing multiple.
So we need to download by using CSV file from the subscription by using cost management service.
Yeah, I hope you can see from export to CSV, right?
Then from that we need to do all those things.
From there we can
see, I have another question. So thing here is they are not giving in my current organization. They are not giving me as multiple subscription to be managed. And what they are saying that whatever things is going to be managed, that should be at resource group level. Is it a right thing, or do you need to force them to provide it, or how real enterprise level how it is going to happen?
See, mostly you cannot manage everything with for everything you will not have a dedicated subscription. So you can easily manage multiple things with the help of resource group, right? Maybe for client number A, you can create RG1. For client number B, you can create RG2. If your organization want to have a different subscription for a different client, that's altogether a different story. But with the help of same subscription, you may manage multiple departments, you may manage multiple teams, you may manage multiple clients. So easily achievable. So they are not asking you something which is unreal or which is not practical. Easily you can achieve
Okay.
that.
Okay. So in this case, and I need to create a hub and spoke architecture by using a one subscription, by using various resource group, and through that I can
See,
manage various services.
hub and spoke architecture basically refers to the networking. So I think you have jumped too far ahead. So we haven't discussed
Sorry.
networking, right? But yes, in the upcoming session, see how can we create the hub and spoke architecture, or how hub and spoke would be beneficial, when to create hub and spoke, when not to create hub and spoke. So I think still a lot of ground we need to cover, right?
Okay.
But
Okay.
what
Since
your
I don't want
organization
to
is, yeah, what your organization is asking, it's easily achievable. They have a fair ask. It's not an unpractical ask, right?
Okay. Okay. Jiten, I will show you. I want to have a separate discussion with you, Jiten. So I don't want to mingle the things here, and I will connect with you. Jiten, what is the process I need to reach you?
So maybe we can connect tomorrow, like maybe anytime after like 3 p.m. or 4 p.m. We can connect tomorrow and we
Okay.
can discuss it.
Can I get your phone number or how I can reach you?
Yeah. So if you are in the group that Amit has created,
Yeah.
my phone number is already there,
Okay.
right?
I will ping you there.
Sure,
Thanks.
sure, absolutely. All right. So now we'll just discuss one more topic. So as we mentioned, we'll just keep it light. So till logical architecture we have discussed. Now I'll give you something regarding the availability zones, that how in the physical architecture we discussed that we can achieve better redundancy with the help of availability zone. How can we achieve better redundancy? We'll talk about that, right? See, we can assume this is one of the Microsoft data center. Inside one region, minimum we will have 2 data centers, maximum we can have multiple data centers. Minimum there will be 2, maximum we can have multiple, right? I am considering this as one of the data center inside a region, one of the data center. This is MS data center. Right? Maybe we can call this as FD1, call this as FD2, and so on. Fault domain 1, fault domain 2, and so on. Right? Actually, these are nothing but racks. These racks can be referred as fault domains. We discussed in every data center will have multiple racks. So these racks can also be referred as fault domains. Why they are referred as fault domain? They have 3 things common, but they're individual. Cooling, networking, power, or electricity, right? Cooling, networking, power, or electricity. So we have 3 things common, but they're individual. Now, let's say you need to deploy 20 virtual machines. Maybe you deploy 20 virtual machines. All the virtual machines we deployed in FD1. All the virtual machines we deployed in FD1, VM1, VM2, VM3, VM4, so on till VM20. In order to keep the infrastructure up to date, we push the updates. In order to keep the infrastructure up to date, Microsoft would also like to keep the hardware up to date. Let's say they push the update to FD1. Let's say they push the update to FD1, right? The entire fault domain. After certain updates, after certain security updates, or after certain kernel updates, a reboot is also required. After certain security updates or after certain kernel updates, a reboot is also required. So if they will be rebooting FD1, FD1 will be going down. All the 20 virtual machines will experience a downtime. All the 20 VMs, they will go down. They will experience a downtime, which is not an ideal scenario, right? Which is not an ideal scenario. So Microsoft says we will not push the update to the entire fault domain. We will push the update horizontally, maybe via update domains. We will push the update horizontally, maybe via update domains, right? So they call this as maybe UD1, UD2, UD3, UD4, and UD. Let's say out of 20 virtual machines that we deployed in FD1, only 2 machines, maybe VM1 and VM2, is lying in UD1. So they say we will only update one update domain at a time. Like this, we will update the update domain. We will update only one update domain at a time. So once we will only update UD1. Once UD1 will be updated, if in case reboot is required, we will reboot UD1. Once the UD1 will come back online, then we will update UD2. We will update one update domain at a time, right? So out of 20 VMs, if we have deployed only 2 VMs in UD1, and after the UD1 has been updated, if in case a reboot is required, only 2 machines would be going down. Earlier, 20 machines were going down. Now only 2 machines are going down, right? So basically, we are in a better position as compared to earlier. What happens is when we try to create a virtual machine, we have something called as availability options, right? So before availability options, obviously you need to have a subscription. Let's say we have subscription number 1, you need to have a resource group. Let's say RG1, you need to have the name. Let's say I give it a name VM1, you have to define the region. Let's say I put this in East US region, right? You have to define all these things. Then you will get an option, something called as availability options. You will get something called as availability options. Here we get 3 options. One is no infrastructure redundancy required. Second is availability set, and third is availability zone. So these are the 3 options we get. Let me show you what I'm talking about. This is the Azure portal. You can go to portal.azure.com. This is how the Azure portal looks like. If anyone is new to Azure, this is how the Azure portal looks like. If you want to create something, maybe you can use this search box. Maybe you can type, I want to create a virtual machine. So here you see virtual machines. You can click on this. Now I'm saying I would like to create a virtual machine. I'll say create, and I would like to create a new virtual machine. So when you try to create a virtual machine, you need to have a subscription, right? So let's say I have got my subscription number 1. You need to have a resource group. Let's say I have got RG number 1. You need to give a name. Maybe I give it a name VM number 1. Then you need to give it a region. In which region? Let's say I'm deploying this in East US. Right? Let's say I'm deploying this in East US. Then here you will see availability options. You have 3 options here. No infrastructure redundancy, availability set, and availability zone. No infrastructure redundancy, availability set, and availability zone, right? So we will get 3 options here. As we discussed, okay, we'll get 3 options here. Let's say we choose the first option. First, we will talk about no infrastructure redundancy required. Right? Let's talk about the first option first. We are talking about no infrastructure redundancy required. Maybe I'll say I would like to create VM number 1 on which I'll be running application number 1. Let's say I'm deploying VM in one of the region. Right? In that region, maybe it will be deployed in this data center. Right? Let's say it got deployed in this data center, and I'm deploying the machine as no infrastructure redundancy required. In this data center, maybe it will be deployed to one of the fault domain. Let's say it got deployed to FD1. In FD1, it will be deployed to one of the update domain. Let's say it got deployed to UD3. So basically, VM number 1 got deployed here. VM number 1 got deployed here. Right? So VM number 1 will be deployed here. Now, there could be a scenario where there could be a physical disk failure or physical hardware failure on FD1. If FD1 will fail, the entire FD1 will be down. If FD1 will fail, the entire FD1 will be down. The VM number 1 will be down. Once our VM is down, our application is down. right? Or there could be a scenario where UD3 is updated and after the update a reboot is required. So UD3 would be going down, VM1 will be down, application will be down. So SLA that we get for this VM is, SLA we get for no infrastructure redundancy is 99.9%. 99.9% of the time the machine will be up. And this SLA we will get when we will choose the VM C drive as premium SSD. And this SLA we will get when we will choose VM C drive as premium SSD. Whenever we are creating a machine, we have four options for the VM C drive. One is premium, okay, one is standard HDD, one is standard SSD, one is premium SSD, and one is ultra SSD. So we have four options for the VM C drive. We have four options for the VM C drive: standard SSD, standard SSD, premium SSD, and ultra SSD, right? So from where can you choose these options? When you go to next disk option, from here you can see these options in disk: premium SSD, ultra SSD, standard SSD, premium SSD. This ultra disk is not available with all the VM sizes. So we will get this 99.9 only when we select VM C drive as premium SSD or ultra SSD. This SLA we will only get then. If we will select the VM C drive as standard SSD, SLA would be 99.5%. And if we select it as standard hard disk drive, we will get only 95% of SLA. Right? So maximum SLA we can get with no infrastructure redundancy is 99.9. Now maybe this application is a business critical application and we need better redundancy for this application, then we can go with availability set. We can go with second option, that is availability set. Guys, please remember the condition for the availability set is minimum we need to deploy 2 machines. Minimum we need to deploy 2 virtual machines in the same availability set. So when we will be creating VM number 1 on which we will be putting application number 1, we will put this in AS1. What is AS1? When we will be creating VM number 1, we have to create the availability set. We have to create the availability set. Whenever we will be creating the availability set, we have to give it a name. I give it a name AS1. When you will be creating availability set, it says, hey, how many fault domains you want in your availability set? So maximum number of fault domains, that we can select is 3. 3 is the maximum that we can select. Let's say out of 3, I have selected only 2. We choose only 2. Then it will ask us how many update domains you want. So maximum number of update domains we can select is 20. Or maybe out of 20, we only selected 5. Maybe out of 20, we only selected 5. So we choose 3 fault domains. Out of 3, maximum is 3 we could have choose. We only choose 2. Update domains 20. Out of 20, we have only selected 5. Right? So when we will, so we have got FD1, FD2, UD1, UD2, UD3, UD4, and UD5. When we will put the VM number 1 on which we are running application number 1, we will put this in availability set 1. In availability set 1, how many fault domains we have got? 2. So either machine can be deployed to FD1 or it can be deployed to FD2. Let's say it got deployed to FD1. In FD1, either it will be deployed to UD1, UD3, or UD5. Let's say it got deployed to UD3. Machine is running here. We clearly discussed in order to get the benefit of the availability set, we need to deploy minimum 2 machines in the same availability set. So when we need to deploy VM2 on which we'll be running the same application, we will put this in same availability set. As soon as we put the machine in same availability set, Azure will automatically ensure machine should not be deployed to the same fault domain. So if it will not be deployed to FD1, where will it be deployed? To FD2. We have only got 2 fault domains. If it will not be deployed to FD1, it will be deployed to FD2. In FD2, maybe it will be deployed to UD2. So VM got deployed here, where the same application is running. Now, if there is any power failure, any electric failure, or any hardware failure on FD1, FD1 is down, VM1 is down, but VM2 is up. As a result of that, application is up, right? Or maybe UD3 is being updated, and after the update, a reboot is required. UD3 is down, VM1 is down, VM2 is up, but application is up, right? So the SLA we will get for availability set is 99.95. 99.95% of the time, one of the machine will be up. 99.95% of the time, one of the machine will be up. So can we say that we have achieved the redundancy at a fault domain level failure, at a update domain level failure, at a rack level failure, right? But what about if the entire data center goes down? What about if the entire data center goes down? There could be a possibility the entire data center can go down. If entire data center would be down, guys, would we be able to access the application? If the entire data center would be down, would we be able to access the application?
No.
No, right? We deployed multiple machines where same application is running. They were deployed on a different fault domain. They were deployed on a different update domain, but they are part of same data center. So if data center goes down, all the fault domain, all the update domain will be down, and basically the application will be down. If we want to get a redundancy at a data center level failure, if we want to get a redundancy at a data center level failure, we can make use of availability zone. Question to all of you, do we have availability zone in all the regions? Do
No.
we have
No.
in how many
16,
regions we have the availability zone?
16.
16 to 18. So whenever you want to use this feature, whenever you want to achieve the redundancy for availability zone, you have to pick up that region which contains availability zone. So if I would like to deploy my machines in East US region using availability zone, it is possible. But if I want to deploy my machine using availability zone in South India, not possible, because every region do not contain availability zone. Every region do not contain availability zone. You can see it from here. See, if I go to here, create a virtual machine, and I say I would like to create a virtual machine in availability zone in East US, possible. But if I say I would like to deploy my virtual machine in West US, can I use availability zone? No. Availability zone will become grayed out. In West US, availability zones are not available. If I go to UK South, I would be able to use availability zone because in UK South they are available. If I go to South India, not possible. In South India, availability zones do not exist. So you have to pick up that region where availability zone is available, right? Let's say we have picked up East US where they are available. So guys, any region that contain availability zone, how many zones we will have? Any region that contain availability zone, how many zones? 3. Any region that contain availability zone, we will have 3 availability zones: zone 1, zone 2, and zone 3. Zone 1 is connected to zone 2, 2 is connected to 3, and 3 is connected to 1, right? Minimum, how many data centers we will have in every zone? Minimum.
1.
Minimum there will be 1 data center, right? So inside this availability zone, I have drawn 1 data center. There can be multiple, but minimum there will be 1. In every data center, there will be multiple racks. We can call them as fault domains and update domains. Condition for the availability set was we need to deploy minimum 2 machines in the same availability set. Condition for the availability set was we need to deploy minimum 2 machines in the same availability set. Conditions for availability zone is we need to deploy minimum 2 machines, but in different availability zone. We need to deploy minimum 2 machines in different availability zone. In different availability
Jiten,
zones. Yes, sir.
one doubt, these 3 zones are inside one data center, right?
No. Okay, if I may ask, where what's your hometown, or in which city you live?
I live in Cochin, Kerala.
Okay, you live in Kerala. Can you give me the name of 3 locations in Kerala? Any 3 locations? Let's consider one as airport. Any 2 locations in Kerala apart from airport?
So we can take it Trivandrum, Cochin, and Kozhikode.
Okay, so let's take one as airport, second as Cochin, and third as Trivandrum, right? So you
Yeah.
can consider, now let's say if you consider Kerala as one region, you can consider Kerala as one region. Inside Kerala, there are 3 zones. Maybe zone 1 you can consider as airport, zone 2 you can consider as Cochin, and zone 3 you can consider as Trivandrum. Just trying to give you an example, right? Now, Kerala we are considering as one region. In Kerala, at 3 different places, at 3 different physical locations, Microsoft has deployed data centers. So one, they have deployed data centers at airport. Second, they have deployed data centers in Cochin. And third, they have deployed data centers in Trivandrum. Usually these physical, the physical distance between these zones is around 10 to 15 miles. It could be more, it could be less, but usually it is around 10 to 15 miles. Now, collectively, these 3 zones, they are calling as one region. Now, inside zone, we will have data center. Means in airport location, we have some data centers. In Cochin location, we have some data centers. In Trivandrum location, we have data centers. And collectively, we are calling it as a Kerala region. Collectively, we are calling it as a Kerala region. I hope you got a fair clarity.
Yeah.
Any questions, sir? Okay.
No question. One request. You can you save all these snaps or drawings which we have
Yeah, I can provide you all these stuff.
with the recording. Only
Yeah.
watching this image we can develop our logic. Like
If you have got the recording, anyhow, you have got the drawings as well, right?
yeah, understood. But the better way to you can also save the snaps there.
It's already saved with me. See, I hope you can see
Okay.
here on my here. I've already got the folders, but the only point is usually in trainings you don't get the recordings, but if you already have the recording, you have the drawings, but I can provide you them separately as well. That's not a problem. It's already saved. So I have all
Yeah.
this content already handy with me.
That
Guys,
will be
anyone who has not enrolled for the training, I have shared Amit's phone number in the chat window. Please enroll for the training. From next week onwards, we would only be able to allow those participants, those who have enrolled for the training. I have shared Amit's phone number in the chat window. After like 5 minutes, I will display his number on my screen as well. I have shared his phone number in the chat window. He's the right person who would be able to help you out for the enrollment part. Those who have enrolled, they can ignore. Those who have not, they can get in touch with Amit and they can do the enrollment. Okay, we were talking about the availability zone. Condition for the availability set was we need to have minimum 2 machines in the same availability set. Condition for the availability zone is 2 machines in different zones. So we will be deploying VM1 on which we are running application 1 in zone 1, VM2 application 1 zone 2. So maybe VM1 will be deployed somewhere here and VM2 will be deployed somewhere here where we are running the same application. For some given reason, if the update domain goes down, VM1 is down, VM2 is up, application is up. The entire rack goes down, the fault domain goes down, VM2 is up, application is up. The entire data center goes down. VM2 is up, it's running on a different data center, application is up. The entire zone number 1 goes down. Zone 2 is up, VM2 is up, application is up. So we are able to get the redundancy at a update domain level failure, fault domain level failure, rack level failure, data center level failure, even at zone level failure, right? So the SLA for this is 99.99. 99.99% of the time, one of the machine would be up. So guys, I hope this part is clear now that how can we achieve better redundancy? How can we achieve better redundancy with the help of availability zone? Right? I think this part is clear now. How can we achieve better redundancy with the help of availability zone? That is all for mine for today. If you have any questions, any queries, please feel free to ask, or else we can call it a day.
So Jitin, there is another option is also I'm saying VM skill set in the availability.
Yeah, VM scale set is used for the horizontal scaling. We will talk about that maybe in the upcoming session. we refer it as VMSS. It called as virtual machine scale set. With the help of virtual machine scale set, we can do the horizontal scaling. Horizontal scaling we can do. So what is VMSS? What is horizontal scaling? What is vertical scaling? What is the benefit of horizontal scaling? How to put machines behind the load balancer? We'll do all this discussion. So maybe in the upcoming session, all these parts will be clear. Right?
So just not doubt, like if on region fully getting down means, do they provide any workaround like
There
to
are
take the data?
two methods. If a region is going down, what you can do is you can put VM number 1 in East US, VM number 2 in West US. Right? So in VM number 1, we are running application number 1, which is running in East US. In VM number 2, we are running the same application, which is running into West US. Both of them are active scenario. One of the region is down, other machine is up in a different region. Second is we can use ASR, Azure Site Recovery. We can use ASR, Azure Site Recovery. VM1, which is running inside which we are running application number 1, is running in East US. Maybe the entire region goes down. We can create the site recovery. We can create the business continuity disaster recovery. Maybe we are replicating entire VM number 1 to West US. Now we have the replication data in West US, or you can say we have a replica managed disk which is in West US, but it is not active. Once the entire region goes down, once the East US region goes down, we will initiate a failover. When we initiate a failover, VM number 1 ASR will be created in West US. With the help of this replica managed disk, we would be able to create the machine in the West US because East US region is down. This is you can call as active passive. So that's how we can achieve the redundancy at a region level failure. Right? We have not discussed this. So I think.
So we will be covering that, right? ASR.
ASR is not a part of this course, but if you want, I can cover this. This will hardly take some time. Some glimpse I have given you, some glimpse I can give you later on as well.
Okay, I have one question. So how long it will take to create a replica in this case?
So how long it takes to create that? It's a continuous process. So for the first time, it might take a couple of hours, but then whatever changes you will be doing, it will be replicating those changes over there. For the first time, since it has to create the replica from the scratch, next time onwards, it will be after every 4 hours. Maybe you can define that after every 4 hours, you would like to get an application consistent snapshot. So after every 4 hours, it will be creating it.
Okay. So, and I have addition to this, see, it's only applicable for VMs and it's going to be applicable for ACR as well, or
sorry, it will be applicable for what?
VM only, or it's applicable to containers and
no.
Azure functions also?
No. Azure function, their high availability is given by Microsoft. So it's not available for the Azure function. So I think you have gone too far ahead. It's not available for Azure functions. This replica you created for the, see, for Azure function, what you can do, if you have the code ready, you may deploy the same code on a different region.
Yeah, this is same thing applicable to VMs also, right?
Yeah, if you have the image ready, you may do that. Absolutely correct.
Yeah. So my question here is same thing is applicable to Docker container also? That means ACI also? Is it applicable here? ACR? ASR?
Okay, basically you are saying with the help of ASR, can we create a site recovery of Docker container? Answer is no.
Yeah.
Answer is no. We do not have that option.
So then it's applicable only VMs alone, right?
Yeah. As of now, it is applicable only for VMs.
Oh, thank you.
Any other
one more thing, like in the availability zone, so as we discuss in East US, we'll be deploying to zone 1 and zone 2. If the zone 1 is going down means it will get active in zone 2 as VM2. So my doubt is
no. I think you have got the incorrect understanding. It's not correct. Both machines are active. VM number 1, we are running 2 machines and both of them are active. It is also active. It is also active. We are not waiting for any machine to go down. Both the machines are active. Now, for some given reason, if zone 1 goes down, machine is active and it is running in zone 2. We can access the same application from zone 2. So both of them are active.
So how
Load
that
balancer.
VM1 will get active, because the zone itself is down, right? It is deployed on zone 1 and zone 1 is down. So how
Okay,
the VM1 will...
Anu, before zone 1 went down, was the VM active?
Yeah, it was active.
Okay, now the zone 1 has gone down. It is not active anymore. But is the second
Yeah, yeah.
machine active now?
Yeah, second machine is active.
That's why. See, so before,
So
yeah, please go ahead.
so my question is like, so I'm hosted on application server on that, and the users are using that application, and if they are updating some data, means how that will get replicate between the VM1 and VM2.
Okay, basically now you are saying what about data? Maybe I have put some data on VM number 1. How will that data come to VM number 2? Am I right?
So actually users are using this application hosted in VM1 as well as in VM2 to update some data. So might be their database will
Can
be
we have a
some
can
data.
we have a can we have a common database here? For VM1 and VM2, maybe we have a common database.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
so from whether
Okay.
you are accessing the application from VM1 or VM2, when you will be updating the database, it will be coming here. It will be updated here. Right?
Okay, okay.
So
So
data
I'm just
usually it's not a best practice to store the data inside the virtual machine. For data, we always
okay.
have a separate storage solutions. It could be database, it could be a PaaS solution, it could be some other solution, which may be
Yeah,
common
yeah.
for multiple machines.
Okay. So
I
I'm
I
just
have
thinking like if there is any replication technology in between to replicate the data between the zones.
We are not replicating here data between these zones. We are
Okay.
not replicating data here between the zones. If
common
you,
storage users, so not required replicating the database. Common storage is there,
yeah,
or common database server is there in the
well,
background.
in common database, absolutely. So we would be able to overcome this. There is no need to replicate the data. That's what I mentioned, that we will be using a common database or a common storage solution.
Okay, understood. Thanks.
Any other question,
I have
guys?
one,
Uh-huh.
yeah, I have one question. We have saw the hardware architecture and logical architecture. What is Azure framework? Actually, I have heard this word so many times. So
Are you
framework
referring to, like, which framework you are referring to?
like overall means Azure framework, or this word is there actually, Azure framework. That is the reason, means want to know about something about this.
Are you referring to Azure Cloud Adoption Framework?
Yes.
Okay. See, basically, Cloud Adoption Framework is nothing. It's a collection of guidances. It's a collection of best practices. It's a collection of proper guidance that you are giving from Microsoft. See, Microsoft is into the cloud business from a very long time. So Microsoft, their partners, their engineers, they share some best practices. They share some guidance. So that is what we mean by cloud adoption framework. Let's say your organization is starting with cloud. So what is the right framework maybe for your set of business? So Azure has given some well-defined architectures, well-defined methods, well-defined guidances, well-defined best practices, right? Well-defined methodologies, so that you can make use of cloud as a, you would be able to make use of cloud in an appropriate manner. That is what we refer as a cloud adoption framework. I hope you got the fair answer, like what is the cloud
Yes.
adoption framework is.
Yes. Yes.
Following the best practices, best guidances, best frameworks that has been given by Microsoft and by Microsoft clients or by Microsoft partners. Any question, any query, guys, before we call it a day?
No, I have one question with respect to the security perspective. See, any organization, they want to implement ISO 27000 standards, right? So in this case, will this course will cover up those aspects as well?
See, if your organization want to cover ISO 27001, Microsoft has got those compliances here. So what is ISO 27001? There are some certain policies that you will be abiding if you want to follow
Yes.
ISO 27001, right?
Yeah.
So now what happens is when you go to Microsoft Defender, it was called as Security Center. Here you would be able to follow the policies that are meant for ISO 27001. So here you would be able to follow all the policies that are meant for ISO 27001. Okay. So here we get the, see, I hope you can see here Microsoft Defender for Cloud. There is something
Yes.
called as
Yes.
regulatory compliance. So
Okay.
which compliance you want to follow? Maybe ISO 27001, or maybe your organization would want to follow HIPAA, right? Or maybe
Yeah.
your organization would want to follow Azure security benchmark. So you can follow those policies. So they have defined it here. For example, here they are following Azure security benchmark. As per Azure security benchmark here, these are all the policies that we need to follow. All these things we need to follow. Maybe I'm following this TP data protection, but maybe inside this as well, I'm missing something. So if I'm following all these, means I am ISO 27000 compliant. For example, I'm missing this incident response, I'm missing. So that's how you would be able to follow ISO 27001 as well, right? So you
Okay.
can say lowest management regulatory compliance, you can view the audits. There are multiple compliances that we would be able to follow.
Okay.
But
So as part of subscription or else, subscription, we need to apply this Microsoft Defender policies against that subscription, and from there we need to track the things, right? Or is there is any different things we need to look like policy, service, or
so,
a bit
so I
confused between these two?
actually, sir, you are asking something which we have not discussed. That is the reason the confusion is coming. So if you allow me some time, maybe 2 or 3 weeks, all this part will automatically be covered. So
Okay.
first, in order to cover
So
all these things,
Defender and all you will be covering, right?
yeah, Defender will be covered here. Defender will be covered here. Absolutely. I think yesterday only I showed the course content. If you want, we can share the course content as a PDF as well. So Defender will be covered. And once we would be able to cover policies, once we would be able to cover Defender, then all this ISO 27001, all these things will automatically be clear to all of you, that how we would be able
Okay.
to follow them.
Sure.
Right? So it's just that, say, for example, see, I went to policies. If you want to follow HIPAA policy, I just typed here HIPAA. So in HIPAA, you need to
Okay.
follow 121 policies. Then means you are HIPAA regulatory compliance. But we still need to discuss what is policy, how to apply policy, how to assign policy, right? So once probably we would have discussed all this part, then all these things will be clear. Just a matter of some time,
Okay.
I would say.
Okay. So the duration is 2 hours, right? Saturday and Sunday. This
Yeah,
is what our timetable is.
absolutely. So I hope you can see here. Let's say if you want to follow ISO 27001, so this is, you need to
Okay.
follow 53 policies. Now, which policies
Okay.
you will be following here? You can see those policies as well.
So we need to choose both Microsoft Defender as well as policies. Both things need to cover up, right?
Right.
Okay.
See, these are the policies for ISO 27001, right?
Okay.
So we'll cover these things in the upcoming session. Slowly and gradually we'll be covering things. So that process will take some
So
time. After 2-3 weeks, you guys will have better clarity. Yes, please go ahead, sir.
Okay.
so Jitin, on doubt, like these policies actually will have the mission
Actually,
policies as well, right?
see, we have not discussed policy. Just to answer one gentleman question, I just use this word policy. So let's wait for the policy topic to come up. Let's cover that. And I think then it would be the right time to ask all the questions regarding the policy. Just
Okay,
because
right,
one
right,
person has the confusion for the ISO 27001, I use this word policy. So far, just wait for some time. Let the policy topic come up. Let me explain that. Let me show you some demonstration for that. And then you can put up your questions for the policy related question. Right now, if I try to answer it, it may raise one more question regarding that topic which we have not covered so far. So I think it would be too early to ask questions on the policy. Just hold on for some
yeah,
time.
understood.
We will discuss it in the upcoming sessions, right? I'm so
Okay,
sorry. Like,
Jitin,
it's
thanks.
just that I do not want to
No.
bring more confusion. That is the reason I'm just asking you to hold on for a bit.
Yeah, right, yeah, thanks.
Okay, so I think we have a good question and the answer round. So I hope most of your queries or all of your queries are answered by now.
Okay. When you get the course materials like the things like the labs or something which you said yesterday. We will get it
next week, from next week onwards. On every Sunday, I'll try to give you some lab links so that you would be able to follow the lab. You would be able to follow the labs. So I'll be sharing that from next week onwards. Right. Reason being, some enrollment process is still left, and so far we have not covered much ground. So probably by next week, I'll start sharing all those things as well. On every Sunday or by Monday, we'll try to share all those things in the group. In the there is a WhatsApp group going on. In that, you will be getting everything: links, recording, lab links. You will get everything over there.
Okay.
Everything you will be getting over there. And anyhow, any person who has missed the Amit's contact detail, let me share that again. As I mentioned, I'll be sharing it again. So let me share it here, I think.
Certification point of view, Jitin. So meaning, so how long this, if someone needs to write the certificate, is there is any expenses required, like 3 months, 6 months, how that 103, 104 was form similar to that, we need to write, or how it is going to be, Jitin?
So once you have done the training, probably 2 weeks is a good amount of time to prepare yourself, and then you can appear for the certification. That is something I'm sharing from my experience. Probably I have trained more than 7,000 participants by now, many batches, I would say. So I'm just sharing it from my experience. After training is over, 2 weeks time is more than enough to prepare and to appear for the certification.
So Jitin, this AZ500 is for the security, right? Associate.
Azure security engineer, right?
Okay. So do we have any security architect or something like that certification?
Now, multiple certificates are coming for the security. SC200, SC300, they are covering security as well, but not any architect level course for security as of now. See, when you go with Azure architecture, in Azure architecture, security also gets covered. So if you want to become an Azure architect, you can write 303 and 304.
Sir, I hear that there is a change in certification for architects.
Now
because
it's
they are going to
305. Now they're going with 305. 303 is still active till March, and 305 is in beta phase. Probably within a couple of days, it will be in full-fledged. So now they have introduced 305. So there is a change. Absolutely correct. So 303 and 304, they have
What is the
replaced.
difference between these two, sir? 303 and 304?
303 talks about the Azure services, and 304 talks about the designing of it, how to design the architecture. So 304.
Sorry, there is a new thing they brought in, right? I need to know confusion between these two, old one and new one. What is the difference between what they have added?
Let's say any person, any participant is starting the journey with cloud, or maybe he's not much aware of cloud. So 303 will introduce you with the cloud services, how you can use those services. Now you have got some fair experience on cloud. You know how the services you can use. Now in 304, we will talk about the design. How can we create the design? So that's a major difference between 303 and 304.
So 104 is removed, right?
104 is Azure administration.
Okay. So 304 is?
Azure architect and design.
Oh, okay. Okay.
My question was 305, you said, no? Something which they introduce a beta version, you said, right? What is the difference between
course content? 305 is a combination of 303 and 304. Earlier, in order to become Azure Certified Solution Architect Expert, you need to write both the exams, 303 plus 304, then you will get Azure Architect Certificate. Now you just need to write 305, then you will become Azure Certified Architect Expert.
Okay. Will you teach those also 305
yeah,
also separately?
Absolutely. I take care of all those courses too.
Okay. So when this batch is going to start?
You can check with Amit. The batch timings and the batch commencement date, you can check with Amit.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, this is the Amit contacts detail. If anyone has not enrolled for the training, next week onwards, it will be available only for those people who have enrolled for the same. You can take a picture of this. You can note his phone number. You can get in touch with Amit, and he's the right person who would be able to onboard you or who would be able to enroll you for the training. So enroll yourself as soon as possible so that we would be able to meet next week and we would be able to take our technical discussions further.
Sorry, Jitin. So what is the tentative end date for this batch? Any idea?
Yeah, so from next week onwards, it will take like 4 to 5 weeks. So you can find out 4 to 5 weeks from then, assuming there will be no holidays. Sometimes there are holidays due to holiday season, or it could be some unavoidable circumstances. Probably in 5 weeks from now, we would be able to cover this course.
So let me say that January end, we will complete our max.
probably by January 16th, you can say. Probably.
Oh, January 16th itself. Okay. Thank you.